welcome y'all to Conversations with Dean. I am Dean, and listen here. I say this a lot that I got a special guest, and a lot of times that I do have a special guest. They're pretty dope and cool, but it's very rare that I have a brother that comes on to this platform. It's very rare that I got a partner in crime that comes on to this show. It's very rare that y'all get to see Dean's big homies on this platform, you speaking in the way that that he's going to be speaking. Now, you've seen us on the Player Haters podcast, and if you haven't, then you're slipping on your Sundays, baby. There's no better entertainment. The NFL is not here, baby. You know what you need to do? Tune into the Player Haters live on the YouTube machine. We're giving you reactions to any and everything, baby. There's going to be a lot of glitz, a lot of glamour to it, but guess what? It's hilariousness. But at the true core of the content is going to have yourself asking some questions. It damn sure will. But the man I'm bringing to you to the stage as of this point forth, my man Craig Mack. I've known Craig Mack since, I don't know, to name a time, since 2009. Was the big homie in my fraternity, our fraternity, Alpha Sigma Phi, but more importantly, the Beta Xi chapter at Harvard College. You know, the best chapter out there. You know what I mean? Listen here, people. I welcome you, Craig Mack, to the stage. Listen, hey. Dean, cue the applause.
I appreciate it, bro. It's an honor. It's an honor.
Listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you for, stopping on and kicking it with the kid. And we were kicking it before. And, obviously, Craig and I talk all the time. So, this is going to be a little bit of what, how contentious sometimes our group chats can get, and the hilariousness and the realness, which it has to make you, sit and look and think at things differently. And it's also going to get into creative spaces, especially, we have a lot of creatives who listen to this. Talking about creative blocks, hurdling creative blocks, pivoting in creativity, you're the perfect man to speak to. And earlier I was asking you, about your music and the availability of it. And you said very little of it is available on the streaming platforms. You're about to let the God know, but let the people know what it is. Wow, what made you take it off, brother?
Well, the time where I was really going hard with the music thing, I was going by the name City Lights. I thought it was just perfect, just because every time I was writing, just like growing up in the city of Boston, I had the perfect view of the skyline, like the typical Boston skyline. And I used to work at night. I used to just like write and be creative at night. So City Lights seemed perfect. But when I put out an album on all streaming platforms, and I kind of finally figured that thing out and found like a good medium, there was some punk band like in Detroit or something going by the name City Lights. So when everyone tried to look for my shit, they were just streaming that fucking punk band. So I was like, you make rock? Like, what do you like? What's going on? So everyone just was going to other City Lights. So I decided to change the name, but I had to take down all the music, but then I never kind of settled on a name or settled on any music I was proud to leave up there. So.
So what, you don't think that your music was growing well with the times, or do you just think that since it wasn't connecting at that time, you don't think that it can connect now?
I was authentic in my delivery because I wanted to showcase like my rapping ability. I thought it was my strong suit, words, but like in hindsight, I wasn't being authentic to me, even though I like there's times where you think you're being genuine and you're not. And I was always just trying to make music with the times, I was always trying to keep up with what was trending. So music got more melodic as I got older. So by the time we're graduating college, music was in a different place. Like the game just transitioned, and I was going to school, getting jobs. I never put my whole life on the line to kind of really pursue music the way you have to make it.
Right. So all right. So when did you start rapping? Because I don't think I remember you rapping in 09 in college. So when did you?
At that time, I was anti-rap because I was because you heard we had our rap beef in the house. So that's what got me rapping again. I wasn't really taking it seriously. it was just something I always did because I was into poetry. So I was into slam poetry, but I always wrote them like raps because like not everybody thinks you should rhyme in poetry. I happen to think so. So it would always just
I
be
think you have to rhyme in poetry. Why
That's what I mean. I'm from that school, but a lot of people don't. I mean, if you're like a traditional like poet, some people just
it's the irony of
Yeah.
art piece. Go fuck yourself. Rhyme it, bitch. Challenge yourself.
Yeah, I'm with the rhyme. I think the game has to have out of
5 minutes in before your first curse.
Yeah, that's a record.
It is. Sadly. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Continue. My bad.
I even forgot what I was gonna say.
You were talking about you know how you wrote your poems as poetry. I mean, excuse me, as in a rhyming form, even though some people say that you shouldn't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, I was probably doing that from 4th grade when I thought, you know, just to myself, and then trying to express it to my close friends, and then just messing around with music in like high school, just like freestyling and shit. I'd always have something written because I'm like one of those insecure people, so I can't freestyle well, but I like if I can sit and drop my thoughts, you know, I always think that's more impressive. So I'd always just have shit written just in case motherfuckers wanted to rap.
Let's talk about something that you just said. You said you're just one of those insecure people, which I find wild here. I get it and I can see it. Now, you know what I mean? Especially now we're closer understanding your thinking on certain things the way you're just like, nah, fuck that, fuck these people. Which we'll get into that later on a multitude of subjects. But it's still crazy because knowing you, like I said, you the big homie, you know what I mean? So like people, when I joined my fraternity, there was 2 chocolates, 2 black people, 2 African Americans, whatever the fuck you want to call it. There were 2 of us, right? And excuse me, there were 2 of them. And then there was the year before there was 3, but then Kwame graduated. So it was left with Ray and Craig. Now you got 4 joining. You got Wade, you got Gary, D, you got Saeed, then you got myself. And Craig, and you know, I fuck with Craig and I fuck with Ray. But Craig we had the same birthday. I believe that
great day.
You know, remember the 5th of November. And literally, we were just the same person in different years, and obviously different dynamics make them. But Craig was my fucking. I say all the time, I said Craig's my fucking spirit animal. Craig is
well,
mm-hmm.
And it's reflected because I always think you were braver to be more honest and explosive. So I'm just like, yeah, if I were always on 10, I'd be D.
It was it's funny because Saeed and I were talking before this. Him and I just talking, shooting the shit, and we were just talking about the monster that you created, like how effectively a lot of people got fucked up as a byproduct of Craig just creating soldiers in an army that he was building and then leaving, and he was like, conquer the world where I didn't. It was okay.
Correction.
He goes,
correction.
This is what
No, correction. I just had ideas. You guys had follow through.
Because you would tell us these hilarious, like, you know, and real stories about things that you went through. And then through those stories, it was really, truly examples of brotherhood. So yeah, we were laughing about how the fact that, you know, you had to, you know, you were in a fight getting jumped, and then you got Abrams coming in with the, you know, hammer fist, you know what I mean? Like coming down with the double hammer overhead, and it's hilarious. But then, you know, showing true brotherhood in the fact of, you know, you got a brother who is outnumbered, and then another brother's coming in when they are still outnumbered, and they just gonna go down together. It's a beautiful thing. But then to go back to the point, to still hear that you say, like, you know, how that you're a little insecure, it's still amazing to me, because I'm just like, I know who Craig is, and I'm just like, wow. I understand it, but it's like, wow. It's just baffling to me.
Yeah, I think life is in general just about your responses to things. So, as you can identify, just being a fighter, that like fear you get is always like right before a fight, that like anxiety. I kind of like thrive on that. So even though like I'll have my doubts, like I think that's how I like it's gonna sound like it doesn't connect, but like I used to deal with depression pretty bad, but then I used to put myself in peculiar situations where you get to see who you really are. So some things I can't even lie to myself about anymore that I'm bad about. You just kind of prove yourself to yourself, which is a hard thing because you're gonna have some highs, you're gonna have some lows. So it's just through that process of just like, all right, I already don't give a fuck, so let's just see. And then you start building character from there. So like it started from just a fragile place to where I kind of build strength to just being like, I can't even lie. I'm not dude. I proved it time and time again. Yeah, so it's just like then you have something to fall back on instead of having that forever pit of just not knowing like I'm not good enough. What if like this, blah blah blah. Like you can send that forever.
That's so you said a lot. Look, we're gonna unpack it because y'all know, baby, y'all know Dean. I'm not listen. I have Craig's episode is following the big homie Laz's, so y'all know I am tapering off on y'all. And some of y'all who are coming over here from listening to the Laz episode, we appreciate y'all. Make sure you check out the Play Haters podcast, and also make sure you check out Black of the Berry podcast as well. Make sure you hit them subscribe buttons, and you know, like, share, and subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. But I'm laying off on laying into the politics stuff for a little bit, giving you a little bit of a break for 2 to 3 weeks, and then you know what I'm doing. A lot of stuff. It is what I do to them. I always lay off a little bit, and I come back just swinging for the fences, going crazy, throwing bombs. But back into what you said about dealing with depression. Now, were you? Because I want to, make sure that we differentiate it for the people out here. So were you just dealing with depression and you just had like a bad bout in your life, or did you actually do you actually have depression? You see what I mean?
Yeah, no, clinically depressed. Like I was given like drugs for it.
Okay.
But I don't know. At the time, I think it was like, I can't say I had some like mature foresight. I was just giving a lot of drugs. I was like, because I just started getting like, Adderall, or at the time it was Concerta, and before that it was Ritalin. How
old were you when this happened, if you don't mind me asking?
The peak of it, when I got prescribed drugs and was prescribed depression meds, was around like 7th grade, 8th grade, going into high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've dealt with like mental health your whole life.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's why I kind of like, like I said before camera, like I always think too deep into things. I always try to find a lesson in things. Just even when there isn't one, I'll create one just because that's helped me get through.
I got you. Yo, son, you were speaking science to the math, bro. Like people like, first of all, because I didn't know this beforehand. I didn't even know that this would take this kind of turn, but I want to really put you over for really being true to the people out here, because this isn't an easy thing to come on these airways and be our most authentic selves. And no matter what the view count may be at this point in time, what it may be later, regardless, people come on these airways and we give ourselves to you. So I really appreciate you for coming down this path, especially as a Black man, especially when we're talking about in today's day and age in regards to just making sure that, that we all take our mental health serious. And I love to hear that, it hurts me to hear that you've been dealing with it for so long, but then I'm also glad to hear that you've been dealing with it for so long, because you're still here and you're showing that listen here, people, no matter what, you can still do this. You can still be the man. You're going to have your highs. You're going to have your lows. But listen here, like I had no idea. Like when I met him, Craig was a fucking like an entity.
That's flattering. I appreciate that.
He was, because I knew, and even as crazy as people, you hear me on these airways, you hear how I talk or whatever, but I was really crazy when I was younger. So for me to have a pause on anybody, that meant something, because you name it, I've done it or I tried it. So even before knowing you and your reputation, something always just was like, yo, he's dope. He's cool. He's a senior. He survived this. You know what I mean? Like you've done something I'm looking to do. You know what I mean? At that point, when I was looking at you, I was like, yo, he's done some cool stuff.
I think we gravitated towards each other, just having similar spirits that way. Because I had to tell you to your face, even though I won't get into the whole fraternity pledging process. I remember telling you we had to call you by name. It's like, yo, if we get to Justin, if we get to Dean, we can break the rest of the crew. I remember. And I remember having to go to my room that night and like, yeah, we really had to call this motherfucker by name. And I had to tell you to your face. I was like, when it was all said and done, I was like, fam, you're the heart of that. You were the heart of that group. And even now, I think even though we've all grown into different separate parts of lives, I think even if I wanted to connect with some other brothers that we had like a bond and experience with that I don't have a connection with, I always could go through you because you're still like the heart of things.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I appreciate that. And I try to be. And listen, like I naturally wear my heart on my sleeve in the sense of, and that's why I was, we gravitated towards each other because I knew you did the same thing because I was like, yo, there's no way that this dude is so thorough for dudes that he calls brothers. I was like, okay, I could bang with this. You, Gary, Chris, we got Joey D. You see what I'm saying? Like it was certain people, and then it was just certain people in the house that really I was like, oh, okay, this is really about something. That's why I was like, yo, I told Saeed, I was like, yo, come on, son, you gotta do this, bro. Like we gotta do this together. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
That was an epic decision on his part, and you trying to convince him to come through because
y'all part too. You know what I mean? It was on so many parts. It was the perfect melting pot of things, and that's why it's still. And then, like I said, you were at the height of it, the run of it. I just remember when you came back your sophomore year, we were wilding in Craig's memory because we were like, yo, Craig, you joining? And you're just like, I don't want to. And we're like, whatever. Well, look what we did. It was just
y'all brought it to a different level. Y'all made the vision real because, before, like you were saying, it was a different time before you got in. So not only were there not a lot of brothers, but the house itself was looked at as lame. So we were the first group to kind of make to fit in because it was mostly Hicks when I pledged. It was all like Alpine House, we called it. It was all the Hicks. So then when we got in there, we appealed to a different group. So then sororities wanted to start partying with us. We had a small pledge class right after us. And then you guys came in, and it just. The popularity of the house just took over. That's when we got to ride on because when you go to a small school, the freshman class kind of is the buzz around campus. So when you have a cool group of people, everyone in campus knows. So it was just like, oh, this cool independent group of kids just joined the most popular house on campus. So then we were just lit. It
was a melting pot. And then and I got to give a shout out to the class above us because the class above us was a bunch of savages too. Like they also helped lay the groundwork for us to be able to, because they stayed together for the most part because there were so many of them. So even when some of them left, they still had so many. It was a melting pot of just pure nonsense and fuckery. And then it's crazy to me to know in all this that you were dealing with what you were dealing with, and none of us fucking knew. Like in my mind, and this is no disrespect to mental health, but I'm talking about back then. If somebody would have came to me and been like, yo, your boy Craig is depressed, I would have fucked them. Let me tell you what I would have did. I would have fucked them up right then and there, right? Then I would have dragged them to wherever Craig was. On the way, called a few other brothers, continued to fuck them up the whole way. Get them to Craig and say, you hear what this motherfucker? Say it to him. Then beat the shit out of him again, and then, send them on their merry way. Because I wouldn't have never even, but obviously now we see that mental health has taken a different conversation, which it rightfully should have taken. And that's why I asked you if you were diagnosed with it or if you dealt with it, because, a lot of us go through different periods of time where we deal with it. But when you're actually diagnosed with it, that's a completely different battle.
Yeah, I mean, and you allude to an interesting point because it is used. It's like it's pop culture now, so people use mental health topic as a crutch now, which is unfortunate, even though it's a real thing. But to every real issue, there are people abusing it, trying to use it to some kind of advantage.
Yo, you're just speaking gospel to something, because I was talking to Justin. You know, everyone knows who Justin is. I was talking to Justin, and I was like, yo, I feel like we live in I understand both sides. And what I mean by that is there are real issues in this world that unfortunately lazy, disgusting, non-thinking people like to attach themselves on like a wind, depending on which way it's swaying. Did people know that the lesbian population is dwindling, shrinking?
I didn't know that.
I won't even go into it, but look into that. But it'll go into the broader my regular conversation with Dean listeners. They're gonna be able to unlock the layers of what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I gotta leave the layers. But there's just so much swaying on things, depending on what's popular now, that you don't have people standing on it, and then you end up getting people who they legitimately weaponize it, and then it's like, yo, you're defeating the purpose of this argument. You're doing everything that we say we don't. You're doing everything that we're trying to make sure that we get on even foot with, but you're just trying to use it so you can get out of doing certain things. Or if something becomes too hard, it's like, oh, well, this is acting up.
Yeah, people. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, no, please go.
So I was gonna say, some people just want to win. They're like, it's naive to think that some people are not out here for their own benefit. Like, it's just how life goes. Is that there's something of every kind.
No, I got you, and you are completely right. But it's just so crazy to me that. And what's even crazy to me is that if you try to call it out, then all of a sudden you're the bad guy, or you're this, or you're that, and it's like, well, you don't know, you're not this, and you're just like, well, what about this? You know what I mean? What about it?
Yeah, everyone's like afraid to be wrong. I mean, granted, there's no place to be wrong anymore because we live in this like cancel culture. So everyone is so quick to find their reason to preach to you about whatever the fuck they care about. So it's tough because everyone's pretend social justice warriors, so they want to like use your mistake as their like at your expense for their like little soapbox. So it's hard to be wrong or be brave enough to be wrong.
Yeah, it's crazy. But then the issue is that with most of society, they're not, and I don't mean to say this as like a trigger thing or trying to be woke, even though they've destroyed that term, but they're not free thinkers. A lot of them can't stand on their own. You can't even ask them what their own opinion. If you can't have varied opinions on something, or if you just can't be swayed from just one complete thing, there's no way that you can be a complete free thinker, because a free thinker has a vast thought and opinion on a multitude of issues, because they understand not everything is the same. You know what I mean?
Nuance is gone, bro. Nuance is gone. There's no subtleties to a situation. Everyone has to take like an extreme stance, which is horrible on a whole for a society. It's okay for like a few people are extremes, but when you're pulling the masses towards extremes, like, it can't be good.
Not to dip into politics, but just to dip into like world things, it really makes you think what the bigger play is in regards to certain things. And what I mean by that is, people who listen, y'all know that I have spoken about the different acts that allow propaganda to be used against the American people for not only international affairs, but domestic affairs as well. Affairs of the state, affairs, depending on what they deem things. Everyone understands, the fallout from 9/11 and us giving away more of our rights. You know what I mean? So when I'm looking at certain issues, like when I look at the January 6th attack, when I look at the Black Lives Matter protest, whereas you have cities reporting that before the protest happened, during the protest happened, maybe a day or two before the protest happened, you have bricks just being laid there. You have situations where you have cops allowing individuals to storm, the Capitol, where you have Mike Pence. It just makes, and then we understand that the FBI will allow crimes to happen in order to take down larger crimes. And we understand that some of the largest criminals right now running around are our federal government in regards to, I don't give a damn about what they do to international affairs, but domestically, they running rampant on us, and we don't even say a damn thing about it. We continue to give away more freedoms because of, they make us scared of certain things, like, obviously the coronavirus, something that, has a, what is that thing now? It may have, I think it's between a 95-99% of fatality rating, probably close to 99% rating. No, actually, no, it is 99% survival rating. We have gotten to the point that we've allowed them more powers to do things over us. So it makes me wonder how much of this is not even of people's own thought. Like, I wonder it a lot. For instance, when you have people clamoring for big tech to censor people from the right? And they're saying that, they're speaking hate speech, things like that. It's not that I don't agree that they're speaking hate speech, but my issue is that when you advocate for them to be censored, what's to stop a Benedict Arnold from infiltrating them and then turning getting more of them in and then turning the flip? And so then now, for instance, could you imagine what would have happened if social media was censored, during, coronavirus for, the protests and the marches surrounding George Floyd? Think about that.
Well, that's to assume that we're not even experiencing some kind of censorship in what we do get.
My point. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's always a thing that whoever's in power is going to try to take away in doses. So, especially like in a country like America, we're a gun loving group. You can't just out in the open do shit. But I mean, the plan of any governing power is to get more power. I mean, power and control never stops. So, I mean, that's the end game. It has to be the end game.
We're gun loving for now, but we have people who are really, like, for instance, there's a Supreme Court case that's going to be up for docket. I don't know if it's going to be 2021, 2022, but it's New York State versus the New York State Rifle Association or something like that. Effectively, New York State is trying to make it to whereas you can only be allowed to carry a weapon, a gun outside your outside your house, even if you have a concealed carry, if it's for like a strictly self-defense reason or something deemed worthy by the state. Otherwise, trying to make it so you can only keep it in your house. And it just makes you wonder, because these same people who are clamoring for things like that are the same people who were hitting me up when COVID was at its extreme. And I put a post out because gun sales were at a record high. People realized how long it took to get a gun. They realized the process that it took to get a gun. And I put a post out there saying, I remember all you people advocating for more stringent gun laws, not even understanding the ones that were already in place. They were hitting me because I had said that. I remember all that. So don't contact me for a gun. I can't help you to get a gun. I'm not going to give you mine to borrow, whatever the case may be. It is what it is. Yeah, so I remember. So people hit me up. It was like, yo, well, what would you do if things turn crazy and you got your gun? I said, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to protect me and my family. I'm going to, and I said, and then I'm going to get to my mother and father who happen to be 4 hours away driving. I'm going to get to them using this weapon, and I'm going to get them to safety using this weapon to get more goods. You really do that to people? Yes, because it has turned to anarchy. So what I mean by that is people don't understand the things that they are advocating for, advocating against. they don't understand the true history of a multitude of things. A lot of people yelling about critical race theory, but they don't even understand their own history of America. So you can't even yell about a critical race theory when you don't understand what is the totality of America to really truly understand, to come to your opinion on what how the laws were created, how the laws were put in place, the systematic issue of things. That's a whole nother issue. What I'm stating is that most of you individuals vote and go for things not for your free thought, but because of what the general public and the propaganda machine has put in front of your face. And you won't even look at different channels or different outlets or whatever, different entertainment, whatever it is. You look at your one thing and that's it. You disgust me.
Well, I think an element that you can't leave out is that I'm shocked at the amount of, when I have serious talks with people, which I don't have anymore, only with like people close to me. You'd be shocked at how many people they haven't been through much, so they're idealists. So they have these like preconceived notions about how things are and won't acknowledge the actual like circumstances of the situation. So I remember having a conversation with one of our brothers that was saying that he's nonviolent. I'm like, in all cases? He's like, in every case, there's no reason for violence. And I'm like, so someone came in your house and murdered your father and your mother in front of you, you're not going to want to do anything. So that's what the police are for. It's like, what you want them to do to him then? It's like, you want someone to do something, even if, like, I don't understand. Like, I was like, yo, that's privilege. It's privilege to think that you can live in a nonviolent world. Like,
the national police response time is between 7 and 10 minutes, and somebody's probably going to show me wrong, and it's really going to be like 5 minutes and 46 seconds. But I tell people this. I don't even tell people I used to, do jiu-jitsu practice, whatever the case may be. I said I did high school wrestling. I said, do you know how long a 1 period 3 minute round, how long that is? Do you understand that you could really die in 3 minutes? You can die less than 3 minutes in somebody's hands.
Absolutely.
But I don't think people understand that, yes, the cops may come and catch the person, but is it worth them catching the person if you're no longer here?
Damage is done.
Or they paralyze you because you can't defend yourself. So you think of death, but what happens if they slip up and they just paralyze you instead of killing you? Think about that one. Was it worth, like you said, it's a privilege for you to think in such a manner, and it's hilarious. And I guess that's why I have an issue with most people when it comes to gun control, especially if you're Black or Spanish. It's like, why would you advocate for that? Especially when you yell about a system that doesn't go for you, you fucking idiot. But which I agree, the system doesn't go forward, which is why I advocate for no. Let me have my shit. Because if it wanted, it's interesting. I was down in North Carolina. Every time I was down in North Carolina, even the good old boys got some kind of respect and semblance because they understand that, old boy may have it too. Yeah, you damn right he got it. I never see Lonzie Hinton go out nowhere without it. We were in Walmart. He had this little pocket like 32. You know what I'm saying? Like, the little jammy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if it was 30, like the little jammy. Pew, pew. Well, no, because he would keep that in his pocket. And then he would have the 9 actually on him. He loved 9s. He had the 9 actually on him, on the holster. But yeah, he would keep a little boom boom in the actual pocket. Yes.
Option.
Yeah, Lonzie Hinton was a bad man, but he was a ladies' man. They used to call him Ronald Osley. He looked like Ronald Osley. My grandfather. When hear, he was a.
It's a hell of a compliment. He just went viral during that. I mean, not just whenever that verses was.
Bro, son. We've talked about it on the Player Haters already about my grandfather and my cousin Poochie. If you care enough, there is a Spotify episode out there, Anchor episode, whatever. The Player Haters have, and we were talking about crazy stories, and there was a segment where Dean would tell stories about his grandfather shooting people, aka family members.
Great content.
Go back and find it. So
the gems.
It's a different time. Speaking of creativity at different times, how do you keep it going? especially you, because you came from rap. Now you're into podcasting. You got frustrated with rap in general. Well, actually, let's talk about that before we get into creativity. What has you frustrated with rap?
I think the perfect way to put it is just like the game changes, man. The game evolves. So the things that you like, different skills are valuable at different times. So I just like, I recently said like I felt like I was if Ben Wallace was in the NBA right now, like all the big men shoot, like, but I got defense, I got fundamentals, you know what I'm saying? So it's just a game change. And you know, I just didn't, it was a small window and I didn't sacrifice enough for it. So it's just a different game. I could be stubborn and just be like, I dedicate my life to this thing. But I think it's also like a point to evolve into whatever your purpose is.
Right. Makes sense. So then how do you keep your creative self sharp? Like what is your creative, because podcasting is different than rap. And what I mean by that is even the creative output of it. Because don't get me wrong, I am creative, but it's to a point. Like I'm not out here rhyming, I'm not here doing that kind of thing. I'm creative in the sense of what kind of show could I create? What way could I present it? How could I engage the person more? So that is more creative of it. But at a bare bones, it's just me talking shit, giving an outlook on, giving my opinion on different issues. So how are you dealing with that, kind of hitting the different creative juices of your brain?
I do treat it a lot like music, and I take all the lessons I learned from music, especially with my approach to like how we do the Player Haters. Like I was a conscious rapper, and like I call myself like a poor man's J. Cole-ish. So that lane was already, one, it wasn't popular, and it was already filled by someone that does what I do way better. But yeah, the conscious shit we all know isn't popular. We're in like we've been long past the fucking self-destruction era. So I just kind of knew people wanted to be entertained, and even more so now, like where attention spans are shorter. So like, all right, like what can I do that I can make effortlessly, that's fun, that is also entertaining, that I don't mind exploiting? Because I didn't have the like, because I really cared about my music, it was an extension of me. I couldn't compromise. I would compromise in beats, but not what I would say. So I'd make rap over trap beats, try to do, drill beats, whatever was popping at the time, like snap music, whatever phase it was. But I couldn't compromise what I was saying. But like when it comes to, but I'm at a place now where I can, music is not my biggest platform to express myself. I think I can articulate that through conversation better now than I do with music. Music, it felt like my place where I could be raw. So I'm around the podcast. We drop a podcast every week. So it feels like I'm even producing at a higher clip. Like it feels like I'm putting out a song every week, so, there's a lot of parallels on my end.
Nah, I respect it. And I hear that. Because that's how I say it all the time. And I talk to Saeed. Me and Saeed go through these spouts. We'll talk every week, and then we won't talk for like a few months or so. It's just kind of
like real niggas.
I'm talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like on the
real
phone
niggas.
and shit. So, but I've been talking to him, and I've been saying it to him. I say it a ton to Justin. I say it to Los. My whole thing is you need reps. You need reps. I need to do this because I look at this like stand-up comedy. Not that I'm trying to be funny, because people know me. I'm not trying to be funny on here. I know some people find it entertaining in what I do, but I at no point in time I'm trying to be funny when I'm yelling and doing that. That's literally just me. People who know me just like, no, that's literally him. But I understand that there is a certain thing to this. There's a certain moxie to it. There's a certain persona, quote unquote, a marketing thing. And to me, you just got to keep doing it. And eventually a viral clip will hit, and then the rest of your work will speak for itself, because it does no use if the one clip hits. Like, to be honest with you, it would suck if our clip hits before we can at least get to 100 episodes in my mind.
Yeah. Before,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
And not to cut you off, but to interject a different point. Also just with evolving with the game, I mean, like, you remember back in the day when you would have to take a sociology class and some like business major dad or something, like some parent, like, what you going to do with that degree? And it's like this new space of like social media being such a big powerhouse. Like that's exactly what it was for, like giving like insightful intake, like with educated takes, where you see someone like a Kevin Samuels who justifies his knowledge because he was a image consultant. And it's like, that doesn't have anything to do with people. And you're talking about sociology shit. And just like motherfuckers that actually were studying people and trends and societal trends should speak up, but they're not charismatic at the same time. So having that blend of insight and charisma, it, you know, can be exploited if you want to make a dollar.
Well, that goes into your point of just doing reps, and that's what we're like. That's what we're doing, and that's what I'm just. My whole thing of is understanding not only your audience, but understanding how to communicate with your audience and understanding, okay, what do you want to do? What do you not want to do? So, for instance, I understand that I got some Dean followers who have been here since day one. And then I got some who fall off and come back on. It's whatever. I understand. I respect it. I do that with my own, favorite podcast. But the whole time, I can hear the growth within myself, and I see where I'm trying to go. Even though I may even fully not understand where I'm trying to go, I understand that, okay, I don't want to speak and do the things I was doing last year. Like last year was like, when conversation with Dean originally started, it's a lot of cursing, a lot of yelling, a lot of whatever. Now I've kind of grown into, okay, there's a place and time for cursing. There's a place and time for yelling, place and time for politics, place and time not for politics, place and time just shutting the fuck up, letting the guest speak. It depends on the mood. But I wouldn't have known that if I didn't get the reps in. If I didn't get the reps in, I'd still be where I was last year. You see what I'm saying?
Word.
And just like, oh, well, So that's what I'm saying. Like, and I use 100 podcast episodes. That's an exaggeration, but I definitely want us to hit when we're supposed to hit, when there is enough content of what hits that when people go back, they stick with it. You see what I'm saying, dog? And I don't know if enough of our society, going back to the original conversation of just, weakness in society, I would say, I don't know if enough people in society understand that you have to continue to fight through, and you have to evolve, and you have to believe in what you're doing, believe in what you're saying, if you really want to do anything in life. Because to be honest with you, that's why I refuse to go on TikTok, because what I see on TikTok to me, if I'm going to be completely honest, you guys, TikTok was made for participation trophy winners. You guys make each other famous on TikTok, and I refuse to be associated with it. Not only is it China ran, so you can't even trust the reason that they're, putting certain things over. But the simple fact of the matter is that you people, like, why should I put over that this person who's not practicing, healthy habits continues to practice unhealthy, they practice unhealthy habits and continue to practice unhealthy habits? Fuck off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting time to be a creator, and it's a shitty time to be a creator because a lot of people want to do what's popular, so they're just trying to replicate shit. So people that have never even thought about doing comedy or doing skits on TikTok because they want to go viral. So people just want validation. Like, people just want to feel good about like something they're doing instead of putting in the work. But fucking, if you don't really care, like if it doesn't hit, then you're out of. That's a cheap rhyme. I was gonna say quit right after, but that was gonna be some fucking MC Hammer. But yeah, if it doesn't hit, like you're gonna quit because like there's nothing really motivating. You're motivated from insecure place. You want to be lit. You want people that have attention and praise you. So you'll do the stupidest shit. I even today when I was checking my phone to see if you sent the email, I accidentally opened Instagram and I saw a quick video of a dude fucking lighting a firecracker in his eye. And it's like, what were you expecting? Like, other than, you're going to go viral because it's so stupid. Like, motherfuckers are really willing to risk everything for a moment, just for a little bit of attention. Like, attention is worse than fucking crack.
Let's unpack it. Let's unpack it deeper. Let's really fuck with their heads. This guy has no other talent. He doesn't believe that his words, he doesn't believe that he has some kind of other skill that would be able to put him over with, I don't know, 5 people. That you have to go for it all with destroying your eye. And I guess the real thing is you got to get back into a little bit of shaming in this society. And what I mean by that is people need to, and not a little bit, but a lot, but people need to realize that just because you go viral over this doesn't make it a good thing. Doesn't mean I'm laughing with you. I'm laughing at you. I think you're an asshole. I think you're a piece of shit. I think you're stupid. And ultimately, I hope you did not reproduce. If you reproduced, I hope that the stupid gene skips all the rest of the generation. It was just a fuck up with you. You see what I'm saying? But we in society, we end up putting these people over. And, you know, people know I'm a huge wrestling fan, so I'm going to talk about this because in the previous episode, me and Big Lies mentioned Jim Cornette. So I'm going to re-mention him with my Player Haters podcast host, Craig. I hope we get this retweet. But the same way that Jim Cornette and the great Brian Last, that's his name. The way that they spoke about the stupid ass fat fan who got and tried to jump into the ring at AEW, and then he tried to say that he did it for Jim Cornette and the great Brian Last. The same way that, you know, you have these assholes go out here just attempting to do things for attention. You have people doing that on a larger scale. This motherfucker thought he was gonna get into a wrestling ring and be able to wrestle the wrestlers. He got tackled by security, didn't get a goddamn thing. And then you people are out here doing these stupid ass things, going viral, thinking that people are laughing with you, but we're laughing at you. We think you're stupid.
Yeah. What about all the people that quit their jobs for OnlyFans, and OnlyFans announced next year they're moving away from pornography? What you gonna do now?
Well, I guess porn. I guess you got to go back to Pornhub.
Gotta go full porn. Gotta go full porn now.
Right? You got to go. But then, to be honest with you, I've had this conversation because I've had you know, Jonathan Henderson on. He's an OnlyFans. He's been on only. Excuse me. He is currently an OnlyFans model, but he's also an actual model. He's been an actor. He's been on, you know, he's been on Empire. He's been on some Love and Hip Hop stuff. He's actually been in a movie with Viola Davis. So, you know, him and I had a conversation about OnlyFans, but ultimately it still is porn. So I because he was just saying how he wouldn't actually put him fucking another girl because he wants to obviously get married, have kids. He doesn't want that out there. But pictures and videos of him, whatever, he doesn't really, you know, it doesn't bother him. But I guess if you're just an OnlyFans actor, if you do that, you just got to make the transition to full porn if you want to make that bread, if you're about that life. Right.
Well, yeah, it's your only option at that point, especially if you quit your job. Because when it was first popular, a lot of people got a quick like. A lot of people were just like their initial like pictures and shit made them a lot of money, not realizing that it's like, all right, everyone's seeing what you got. You think your neighbor's gonna pay for your OnlyFans the next year? Like, no, you got it. You saw it.
Yeah, no, you gotta do something, I guess, to like capture people. And I guess that's the thing with you know, services like Patreon and stuff, like even content creators. You may get a lick, but you have to be able to continue to keep that high. Yeah, you have to make sure that you are able to be in that creative space and able to actually go through with it. And I don't think people understand the grind of this thing. Like, you know, with Black and the Berry starting with Unspoken Truth, I think I've been doing this maybe, you know, total now 4 years, going on 5. Truthfully, 3 with Black and the Berry, 4 with Unspoken Truth. You know what I mean? Going on, you know, 4 going on 5 years. Like, well, excuse me, it'll be 4 years this upcoming year. But it's not easy. You go through ups and lows. You've had massive success early on because everyone is like cares about you. Now you got to rebuild it, and now people are dropping off. Like now you got to rebuild it again. It's the highs and the lows. But are you going to stick with it? Or are you going to continue on? And that's what I ask a lot of creators when I look at them, especially ones that started during the pandemic. And what I mean by that is, at one point in time, there was 1 in every 300 Americans had a podcast. But what is the statistic of people who were creating and releasing on a steady base? You know what I mean? I would love to know what that number is, because everyone and their mother thought that they would be able to just jump on the bandwagon and do this, and that they thought that they were just interesting enough that they would just go viral overnight. Not understanding that it's an art to it, it's a game to it. Just because you see Joe Rogan doing it doesn't mean you're going to do it. Let me tell you something, people. Joe Rogan was a comedian before he did Fear Factor. That's what got him Fear Factor. Then he got Fear Factor. Then he built his name. Then he started his podcast. Continued doing comedy. You people may say people like, Tom Segura. He was a comedian. Do you not think that Tom Segura didn't have little markups made to tell people to go subscribe to YMH when he was doing comedy all over the world?
Yeah, bro. All the podcasts I listen to that are hitting now, they started 5-6 years ago.
It takes a little bit, man.
Oh, yeah.
Not only do you have to get your rhythm, the person you're going with has to get their rhythm. It's a real big, it's not an overnight thing. And to be honest with you, once again, I just go back to reps. I think it all comes down to reps. It comes down to your marketing. But ultimately, if you're not, this is what happens in my mind. If you're not good enough that people start naturally resharing your shit, are you even good enough for a marketing campaign? Because if you can't convince the people, not the ones who know you, because fuck them, but everyone has people who don't necessarily who know them from an entity. If they're not just retweeting and resharing it regularly, are you good enough to really put your money behind a marketing campaign, or do you need to continue to look at your actual content and how you need to level up? Like, that's how my mind goes. And there's reason to try to level up if my tools are not sharp. Like, when I get there, I'm hitting everything a few different ways. It's not just gonna be one timid, just because the player haters may have hit or Black of the Berry may have hit, doesn't mean I'm not gonna do the other thing. Fuck that. I'm hot, right? This is what I do. Let's do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
I put my money I'm making from this behind that. Let's do it.
Well, yeah, and that's the beauty of actually being built for what you're trying to do, because when, like I said, there was a period where I was making music from an insecure place. So it used to really fuck with me that people didn't share my shit. Like people just didn't gravitate towards my shit, and I was posting it for their reactions with pods and stuff like that. I really don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. So when people do, it's like, oh shit, I wasn't even meaning that for you. So it just helps kind of validate it from if your honest expression is getting a reaction, then you should chase it. But no matter how much you grind, team no sleep, you can't force a thing that isn't for you. So if you're whatever you're aiming at is just beating you down, it's not quitting, adjusting. I mean, you motherfuckers just don't adjust their fucking aim, and you can still be fucking trying to fit a fucking circle on a square peg your whole life, or try some new shit. So everyone's gonna try, but not everyone lasts.
Yeah, man, they don't last, and they don't understand the actual work that goes in it. And I don't know. I guess
10,000 hours.
Man, that's just a master. It doesn't mean that you're gonna be the master of it. You know what I mean? And people don't understand. Excuse me. They take everything for face value. Excuse me. You know what I mean? They just think that, oh, I do this and this should happen. Why should it happen? You have millions of other people.
It's easy to talk shit when you don't try shit either. Mad motherfuckers talk shit that don't try a goddamn thing.
Well, I'm talking about even the ones who do try things. You have to. What I mean is, you have to think on things. Is in the sense of, there are times where I can't go to sleep at night for one reason or another. Your mind just goes, right? And you may smoke a spliff to try to get your mind to go to sleep, but then it doesn't. You smoked the wrong pack. Now you're up. You know what I'm saying? I didn't smoke the indica. I smoked the sativa. Now, when that happens and I'm up, I start thinking about, I don't even think about the big podcasts. I think about the podcasts who are on my level. I think about the podcasts who may be a little bit above my level. What are they doing? How good are they? And how good am I not? What do I need to do to get there? Not what people should be doing or how they should perceive something. I never think that. I always think of, how do I get better? That's one question I always ask Justin. I'm like, what the fuck do I got to do? And then he gives me shit. And then sometimes I won't listen to him. But then eventually I'll come around and be like, yo, you were right. And he goes, I know I was fucking right. I'm like, Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a and shout out to him. Uh Shout out to Steven. And homie Steven, he gonna appreciate this, but homie Steven, he was the first dude who I just met because he just, you know, liked the brand and liked what I was spitting. And he just was like, yo, because I hit him, I was like, yo, what should I do different? Like, I feel like I'm getting stagnant. He was like, well, do this, do this, do this, and do this. He gave me a checklist. I've been slowly checking that off. And I've noticed how I feel about the presentation of it. You know what I mean? Like, I have a certain kind of moxie when I fucking release a conversation with Dean, no matter if people like it or not, because I know that I truly put my best foot forward. And not only what I was saying, but in the way I presented it, the way I tried to engage you with it, and the way I tried to make you relate with it. If you like it or not, I can give a fuck. But I'm good with now, like now I'm all right with having conversations with different people. Like, you know, like, yeah, I do a podcast. Check it out. Here, boom, right there. Good shit. Right? I know. Aesthetically, it's pleasing. I know. I'm getting there. And no disrespect to anyone I did earlier podcasts with that are in the vault, but the wavelength I'm on now, I feel as if I can't even release the episode. I feel like it would be regressive. You know what I mean? Like if I gain any new fans, they'll be like, why is he speaking like that? Why is he doing those things? They'll be like, yeah, that was me, but that's not me now. And I guess that's the creative question I have when it comes to musical artists. Like before, I didn't understand why artists would say, ugh, I hate performing this song from whenever. Like I'm ready to do the new shit. I was like, well, what do you care about? It's your hitting shit. And you're like, oh, that's not you anymore.
Word.
How do you deal with that as a creative?
Yeah, I mean, I know a little taste of it, which is hard. Like someone, I don't have like a high music output, so by the time, yeah, I play a song enough times, I end up like hating it before anyone.
I'm just talking about create, like you being a creative. How do you, like for me, as much as I may like an episode, like I can record an episode, but like, oh, this episode was dope. Listen to it again. Oh, it was pretty good. And the minute I release it and then I listen to it again when it's released, I'm just like, oh, it was terrible. I get why people don't fuck with me. Like, and that's what that's literally what I'll say to myself. And then people hit me up like, yo, nah, I fuck with your shit. I'm like, you do. Because I just thought that I just was saying some bullshit. And they're like, no, I'm here every week. And I'm like, you gotta be. Because it's the same few. Yeah, I guess you are. Okay. I guess okay, whatever. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of like the creative process, to come back and find like something to improve at where you're automatically doing it. Like anything where you're just like, you can get hot at something, just like, I mean, to go back to music, like you can get hot by just making a song just because you're making songs, whatever, and one just catches, and then you're all of a sudden trying to chase that one thing that hit. But like if you're kind of actually invested in the growth of the thing, and you're like, and you're passionate, which a lot of motherfuckers aren't, they just want to be lit. So if you're passionate about it, you're naturally going to do the things to succeed. You're going to ask questions. You're going to want feedback. You're not just going to assume that you're just like lit. So all those things and just being honest with it, I think is important to the creative process. And what drives people is different stuff. So for me personally, everything that drives me comes from a dark, like I mentioned earlier, insecure place. It's something that my ultimate goal is I want to leave something behind, because we all as humans only have so much time on earth. I want to make an impact. You know what I'm saying? I want to leave something that speaks for me after I'm gone. So like, even if motherfuckers talk bad about me, there's something I left behind where you can judge me on that.
Nah, yo. And obviously that's why we do the things that we do, especially when it comes to humanity and leaving things behind. It's interesting because I wonder what the world's gonna look like in 2050. I wonder what anything matter. What will life be like? Because in 2021, we're in this weird place, man. we're in this weird place. Like, where are we in 2050? Are we with flying cars? Are we with think about it. You already have Elon Musk, who is right now experimenting on making chips to make human beings operate on the same speed as computers. You already have billionaires who are going into space. You know what I mean? You have the Simpsons predicting all of this, and everyone thinks it's a game and a joke. What is? I do wonder. I wonder sometimes. I'm like, am I gonna hit, and then the world collapses, and it's all gonna be for naught?
Yeah, yeah. That's literally what's probably gonna happen. Not to get dark, but
yeah, let's get to it.
I believe in. I can't say I totally believe in the Kali Yuga, but it feels like we're in it. Right. And if you don't know what that is, it's like a old.
Explain to the people.
Yeah, it's like an old Indian concept where like there's different ages that humanity goes through in the cycle of like, death and creation. There's different cycles in humanity, and there's a period called the Kali Yuga, where it's the age of absurdity, where everything's backwards. What's right is wrong, and what's wrong is right, and everything is just completely stretched out. So it feels like I can't lie to you, bro. It feels like we're in the Kali Yuga, like everything is just pure absurdity. So it's either going to get worse or start to get better. But I think we're at the tip of absurdity. I think things have to get completely fucked, collapse before we rebuild and have like some kind of utopia.
It makes you it just makes you wonder, and it just makes you wonder about certain things. It really does, because a lot of times I'm just like, why I wonder sometimes what I did in the past life to be who I am. You know what I mean? Like, what did I do in my past life to get the makeup that I am? Because I feel as if I must have did something pretty fucked up. Like, and I'm just being honest. I know certain people are gonna be like, "Oh, do you?" No, I just wonder sometimes. Like, I am who I am and proud to be it. But sometimes I wonder, like, did I do something in the past life that niggas was like that? Maybe I was just some like fucking hater of something, and then they just like, you're gonna be that.
yeah.
And the regular conversation with Dean listeners can unpack it how they want to unpack it. But it just it makes you. I'm just like, what the? Because it's just like, what the fuck? Because energy doesn't die; it just goes somewhere else. Transfer. So it just, I don't know, or maybe that was just the vessel I happened to attach to. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, or I mean, everyone.
This is who I was in my past life, and it's just like, no, this is who you are, and we just are this person every life. This is the trials we go.
Or you're setting the tone for the next life. So like whatever, I feel like everyone has their own set of obstacles. Like your own personal life has its own whatever meaning. So everyone has their own set of shit that's just gonna haunt them throughout their lives, because you're supposed to live out your purpose. So like certain things are gonna guide you towards your shit. So like there's certain shit you just can't escape. Like and however you respond to it, I think you get points for it. So I sometimes I flirt with the past life shit because I feel like I have some bad karma. At the other instance, I'm thinking, bruh, I'm probably setting my karma up. Like there's no way, like all this shit is not going accounted for. Like every lesson along the way, good or bad, I think is adding up, is stacking up somewhere.
Yeah, it's interesting when I think about death, because of what I do.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It always makes
you dance with it daily,
and then in a way that sometimes makes me question my own morality. Sometimes, in the sense of just like understanding that everything in the world the way it is today is a business. So it's crazy. Like, I was having a conversation with a coworker. I said, it's expensive to die, even at inexpensive funeral homes. You know what I mean? Like, you still need at least, $2,000-$3,000 to put somebody away, unless you know somebody that maybe 15, 17, but that's direct cremation at the bare minimum, and then hope you gotta earn because they come back in the box. But then it just makes me think of life in the sense of what does it all matter? In the sense of, obviously you want to live your life, but at the end of the day, we are going to go through the same thing. We're going to go through the same decomposition. Like, no matter what happens, our bodies are going to go through the same decomposition process unless it's evaporated at the time of death. You see what I'm saying? Unless it's like some big nuclear bomb that just evaporates the body and it's like, oh, you're here, you're gone. But I don't know. For me, sometimes I just wonder, like, oh, it's crazy how one day I'm going to be on a table. I'm going to get embalmed, dressed, laid out.
Before
like,
you even go further, is that even you anymore?
Huh?
Is that still you? Is that still you? It's your body. Is that still you, though?
That was my vessel, so I still have some form of attachment to it. But just to know that
you shouldn't, though. Why should you? Why? I mean, because that's not you.
It's the vessel. It's the you
take away. Literally take away your vessel. You still have your experiences. You still have your emotions. You still have your memories. So your vessel is the least part of you.
I understand, but how was I able to live in those moments? How was I able to express myself in those moments? How was I able to be in those moments? It was through that vessel. For me not to think that no matter what, even though I may still be there, but obviously a part of me dies with the vessel, because if it didn't, I would still remember what my past life was. But I don't.
You don't know that yet? You don't know that yet?
How do I not?
Because
what happens when I die? I learn all my lives and then I die again.
You never know. Because like the same way people always think they trump me when they not saying you, but like when they say like, oh, when you die, you just go back to black, like when you were before you were born. But it's like, all right, the same way I can return to the nothingness I once have, I also can return to the everything I had when I was alive. What if those two meet? What did that call? Because I don't think life is limited to the sense experience. I don't know if you keep your consciousness, but I think that, like you were just saying, energy doesn't get destroyed, it gets transferred. So what if there's just a transfer of consciousness? Like, what if well, regardless, if there is, if there isn't, there for this life, for these experiences, because they are now going to change. Yeah, you still meet people in different ways, different forms, whatever the case may be, but it's going to change. So I'm going to have some form of attachment when I'm thinking of what eventually is going to happen to this vessel. Like, eventually that's going to happen, to get prepped, whatever, laid out, eventually either pulled out, craned out, whatever that funeral home uses, or my funeral home when I own it, whatever we happen to use at that point, to be put in a box, to go to a damn retort, to be borned, to then be given to my fucking next of kin, which should be Justin. And then he can do as fuck all as he wants. But I can have some, it makes me think all the time, like, oh shit. I mean, I'm not against getting cremated. I brought that up to my family before. I'm not against getting cremated. I'm not against one of those little fucking pods where a tree grows and shit. Like, I'm not against any of that shit, because through my personal experiences, I have just become less attached to, like, I think I'm fortunate to have the body, and I think I'm fortunate to have, like, you know, the whatever, like being a big dude and shit. But just through my certain experiences, like, I think anyone that's had a lot of near-death experiences, you start to become detached. You can get jaded, but you start to become detached because you realize, like, you start asking, like, who the fuck am I? And I've asked myself that to my, like, core, where it's like, is it even, I'm not my emotions, and I'm really not my body. I just happen to have this shell, but it's not me. It doesn't even define me. Like, so I can understand why people can have identity crises and stuff, because like it's not even, I'm not limited to my body.
I got you. And I agree with you, but then I also, I guess, because I'm working with the physical vessels and I'm working with the families. So in my mind, it's just natural to think of what happens to mine.
Yeah, I understand that.
Will you have people crying there? Will you not have people crying there? Will you have people, you know, who are really, you know, hurting? Are they going to do you right? And obviously I know the answer to that, but you always think of it, you know what I mean? Of just, well, excuse me, you may not know what I mean, but just if you're in my industry, you always just think of, what does mine look like? I know how I would do it. I don't know how other people would do it. And then it led you to thinking of, well, what happens at the end of this bad boy? Is it heaven? Is it hell? Is it purgatory? Are we living in current purgatory right now? What is the situation?
Yeah, well, that's a natural thought for the industry that you're in, because you have something to relate it to, where you set up that exact thing for someone else. So you're just like, I wonder how mine would be done. I mean, I used to think about my funeral a lot. I mean, I'll be honest with you, like I don't think we've ever had this conversation, but going into Hartwick, my senior year of high school, I was battling with cancer. So
we had this conversation on the Playheads podcast. Woo! And I didn't know we were gonna get here. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot that we did that. But yeah, and it there was a period where I thought I was gonna go. And then after that, I was thinking about it a lot because it's on your mind, you know, it just weighs on your mind. But now I'm at a place where that's for everyone that I leave behind. I honestly do not give a fuck. Like once once I'm on whatever journey I'm on, I'm gone. I think you're gonna be consumed with the vastness of the universe, of the past, the present, and all within, that all that shit don't matter. And to be real, I don't even think, I think once you go, I believe in the God body, in the sense that we're all the same person having different experiences. Like we're all just little pieces of God, and that we just connect to the one. Once we get back, you just connect to the whole, and you realize that it's like, oh, that was just that was an experience to wake me up. I don't think we're all that different, because like, yeah, if I had all your experiences exactly how you grew up, there's a good chance I would turn out to be exactly like you. So we're all just gathering experiences so we can have different points of view, but I think we're going to connect to the whole at some point.
Interesting. I don't know. That's fucking interesting, man. To be honest with you, I'm gonna leave it on that note, people.
Oh, all right, shit.
I think we're gonna leave it on that note. I don't want to go too deep into it, because you know what? We'll have a part 2 with Craig. We'll make this a fucking series.
If y'all fuck with me, let them know. Let the man know.
No, I don't. No, I don't care if they fuck with you. So we're gonna do a 3-part series. So next week, Craig is gonna be back on. I didn't even clear it in the schedule, but we'll make it happen somehow.
Yeah.
And he's kind of busy, but it may not be next week. But whatever. We're gonna have a 3-part series within the next 2 months. I'll give us that.
Word.
You know what I mean? Within the next 2 months, it'll be a 3-part series with Craig and I. This has been Conversations with Dean. I am Dean. That over there is Craig Mack. Craig, is there something you want to leave him with?
Every Sunday, come fuck with your boy. See your boy. If you're already fucking with Dean in this platform, see him in a different light. I try to get him out of his shell. I try to get him and bring him into more ridiculous land. So, I try to get the riled up. He calms down for y'all, but we on 10 with the player haters. We on 10.
Like completely on 10. The fact that you got people who slap watermelons for training.
Yeah, shout out to the Crazy Wine. My fucking dude. Fucking the
and listen here. If you've seen this episode, then you need to go back, because when this episode comes out the week prior, we would have had the Sitting Bull, Big Dave Walsh on. And and Dave is gonna be able to tell you the story about how he was training with a 225-pound Atlas stone. It fell on his leg, and he can tell you the story that happened at the hospital. I'll leave it there. I'm not gonna tell you the story now, but listen.
Yeah, you got to build him up to that. You got segue him to that.
The fact that the fact that the person says we have to see you walk to be able to look at the tendon, and Dave Walsh looks at them and goes, "Oh, you think I just have fucking spare wheelchairs in my house, bro?"
I can't wait to talk to that, bro.
Yo, Dave Walsh is great. So listen, this has been Conversation with Dean. That is the big dog, Craig Mack. Let me tell you something here, people. I don't know why I was looking off this way. Let me tell you something here, people. Every Sunday, you need to go check out the Play Hitters podcast live on your YouTube machines, on the Instagram machines at Craig. The same way you see his damn name right there. Just put some underscores, underscore between the Craig and the MVK. You're going to get him. Go ahead to the @TheBerryGang1 Instagram, and you will see us going live, but then we're going to direct you right to the YouTube machine. Check us out. It's been the Play Haters podcast. It's Conversations with Dean, baby. That is Craig Mack. Peace, love, and chicken. We are out. I appreciate you, Craig.
It's a blessing, brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Peace.